Alrighty. Well, a very, very, very happy Monday, and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. Today is March 9th of 2026. I hope everyone had themselves a good weekend. I we got everything set up here. I was go live, and then it wasn't live. I was 10 minutes into the show when I realized I was not live, and I am utterly upset. So I do apologize about the 10-minute delay. We will make it up and go 10 extra minutes in this program, so we will end just a little after 1 o'clock. How is everyone doing? Thank you guys for tuning in to us. Want to say hi to everyone who's watching us on our YouTube channel. Want to say hi to everyone who's watching to us on our Facebook page. Thank you guys for following us. If you haven't followed us, please like, share, and subscribe. It would do us wonders here. And then engage into our conversations today. We have a lot of sports to talk about, believe it or not. So get a part of the conversations. I'm going to share with you a little bit about my weekend. As a matter of fact, the past 2 weekends, because it has been busy, busy, busy. And you could tell based off of what I have lacked thereof on social media, because I have been behind on some things, whether it's posting, whether it's the content on our YouTube channel or creating shorts. I do apologize if those are things that you look forward to, but rest assured, we will get that up and caught up and running again. I am working around the clock. Kind of a moment, though, to unwind, because the last couple of weeks I've been busy um, at the Artsville Theater up there in um, Ohio, where just north of Oakley, and that's because Enlightened Studios was putting on Grassroots for the past 2 weekends. And for those who are unfamiliar with what Grassroots is a performing or Enlightened Studios is a performing arts company. Grassroots is a theater production. It's about a family, black family, the Gibsons, who move into an all-white neighborhood, dated time about the 1950s, and they are being mistreated in the neighborhood, kind of like the outcast. And so it takes act of kindness. It takes the putting the negativity aside, the calm, the patience, the humbleness, to show the neighborhood, to show the people in the neighborhood that you know, you know, sure, you may not like us, you may have difference of opinion, but that's not going to affect who we are as human beings and where we came from. And there's an adolescent to it, written and directed by Terry L. Chappell II, um, and it was a wonderful experience. Now, I was assigned onto this project to help out with the lights and sounds and creating music, or discovering music for that sense, for the in between scenes and the intermission and whatnot. And I'm also part of the Enlightened Studios social media team, content and creating, to help grow Enlightened Studios as a whole. And so I was out there for the past 2 weekends, the build up for this. We were in there 2 weeks ago from the day. First time at the Artsville Theater, coordinated and ran by Miss Kathy, a lovely lady, great person, has a nice facility. When you walk in, it's a 2-story facility. You walk into like a little art gallery to begin with, and then you head upstairs to the actual theater. It's a small, compact theater, holds about 150, guests. And and so you get there, and Monday was loading up, unloading things and getting the stage built up. That didn't get complete Monday, so we had to roll over until Tuesday to finish that up. Got our hands on lights and sounds, what we needed to try to get things to work properly. And usually at the 11th hour, everything goes wrong when it comes down to performances and productions. On top of that, we, had to set up for vendors, had to set up for, uh, vendors and concessions and our social media table. And, we have like a little blue carpet with Alliance Studios backdrop, and people encouraged to come take photos, and people come encouraged to, um, you know, interview. That's where where we're going to be interviewing at. So a lot of it was, you go in there with an idea, with a mindset, and some of it changes, right? And so, just a shout out to Enlightened Studios for putting on another successful production. 2 weekends, right? It seems a little bit much. I know weekend number one I felt went very well, kind of scattered out for weekend number two. But overall, it was a success. Want to thank all the vendors and thank all the volunteers who help put this together. Thank Miss Kathy and the Yardsville Theater for hosting our production at her location. And we're off to the next show. What's next for Enlightened Studios? So the only thing I could ask you guys of, if you guys don't mind, take some time and check out Enlightened Studios. They're on Facebook. Like, share, subscribe, follow, be a part of their community as well. And come check out one of our next productions. We talk about it here on our show, and we continue to talk about it moving forward, because they have a very, very powerful, driven message to deliver in everything that they do. All right, today's sports. We got a little bit of everything. SmackDown last Friday. We'll talk about Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, that WWE Championship match that took place. We'll preview Raw, as we are still on the road to WrestleMania later on tonight. We'll have a little bit of Bengals conversation as free agencies and trades are dealing, and um, kind of a little bit gut wrenching, right? To say early on here this off season. One thing that we'll talk about in this hour are, we're going to start taking a look at our predictions heading into Major League Baseball for 2026. We are just about 3 weeks away before the start of the season, and how I'm going to break this down. Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. Is that starting today, I'm going to take a team I'm going to focus this week solely on the East. So I'm going to take a team from the American League and the National League. So today is going to be the Atlanta Braves and the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm just going to kind of review what their schedule looks like, review any key additions, who I like, where things that I think they are going to struggle at, and honestly, where they are going to, I feel, finish off here in 2026. Also, we'll recap sports as the NCAA has basketball season has come to an end. We're off to the championship tournaments this week, and then off to March Madness, the Big 64, coming up here, I want to say next weekend. So March Madness is about to get underway, and we'll wrap you up with what's going on in Cincinnati, and then we'll finish off with some Red spring training baseball conversations, and so on and so forth. All right, let me get to my next thing here. Let's get down to our first conversation, and that is going to be Cody Rhodes defeating Drew McIntyre to become the new undisputed WWE Championship. I remember back on Friday, we disclosed that and predicted that Cody Rhodes was going to win. It could have went a couple different ways, but WWE has chosen that Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton at WrestleMania for the undisputed WWE Championship. It is what's best for business. I could only presume, and I know what assumptions does to people, but I can only assume that this has to do with a little bit with how the ticket selling is going right now for the WWE. Let's be real. I don't know. I haven't updated. That's something we could do maybe later this week, but I haven't updated since the beginning of February how the WWE is doing on ticket sales for WrestleMania. And the last time we checked, they were not meeting their standards. They were underselling about 10,000 per night. And so when you look at that, you ask yourselves, or you have to ask yourselves, what is the WWE going to do to help grow and build that from, moving forward? The clock is ticking, right? We have about 4 or 5 weeks left before WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken. And we only have a handful of matches. And based off the handful of matches we are seeing, is that enough to sell out WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas for 2 nights? So the decision to put the WWE Championship back on Cody Rhodes feels utterly a last-minute decision, saying things are not going our way. We see a Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton at a WrestleMania, and we feel like right now is the time in order to help ourselves out. That's what we need to do. So I'm going to ask you guys this. How do you guys feel about this unfolding? Because what I've seen so far on social media, not a lot of people are happy about it. And I've also proclaimed that on Friday that no matter how you're going to view this, it's a lose-lose situation. Because everything that Drew McIntyre has done for the last 2 weeks or 2 months in the WWE since winning this title has gone right out the window, right over our heads, and is meaningless. And if I'm a Drew McIntyre fan, I'd be pissed. If I'm Drew McIntyre himself, I'd be livid. It indicates to me that the WWE does not trust Drew McIntyre with the championship heading into WrestleMania. 2, whatever they're doing is not working. This also resembles why Road Dogg left the company last weekend, and we are now on the verge at the end of the road to WrestleMania, and what does SmackDown have to really accomplish? I don't think that Drew McIntyre, I think his feud is going to move on. And we talked about this on Saturday. I still believe that now, since we can confirm that Cody Rhodes is facing Randy Orton, I don't think Drew McIntyre is going to get himself or be able to enter himself in the match. Because I did predict that we could possibly see a fatal 4-way match between Cody, Drew, Randy, and Jacob Fatu. But to add another match to the match card, which, by the way, SmackDown-wise, they don't have a lot of matches to offer for WrestleMania this year, I was predicting that Cody faces Randy Orton, and that Drew and Jacob Fatu faces each other in some sort of stipulation. But, we've seen this happen before in the WWE, where they've had to shift gears. I mean, how many times over the last 2-3 years we've seen The Rock make his luxurious return, only to be set aside because it wasn't getting the heat or the hype it was expected to get. It goes along, how many times we've seen, we watched WWE unveil, right? And how things change all the time. So overall, depending how we feel, it doesn't really matter. We got to look at Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. This is something that since Cody Rhodes has returned to the WWE, we have engaged into conversations how we would like to see this match, maybe under different circumstances. I could see right now these are two guys that are friends, and so it's kind of hard to pick and choose who you would want to see. For me, it's maybe more vintage to say I want Randy Orton to win this early on. And I'm going, it's going to be interesting to see, is this going to be a mutual friendship heading into WrestleMania, or is someone going to have to pick sides? You talk about Randy Orton delivering those RKOs out of nowhere. And for me, I'm just out there and, I'm like, all right, maybe he's going to get one or two, and then maybe Cody has to do something. Um, it's not necessarily the feud I wanted to see. If we were going to see Cody and Randy, and I think I think the original plan, uh, I guess we could say however we want. We'll probably learn later on this year in another season of Unveil. But maybe the original plan was to push Cody and Randy off into Saudi Arabia next year. It's hard for me to believe that the WWE was distinctly planned, "Oh, yeah, let's take the title off of Cody for a couple." And I heard that. So one of the ideas that I heard was that the WWE was planning to take the title off of Cody so that he can be a targeted market for the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber. And I asked myself, I was like, does that make sense? Was it logical? Could you have used him as champion another way and then discover who's going to challenge him for that title heading into WrestleMania Elimination Chamber? Right? I mean, was it worth the storyline? Is what I'm really asking. And we did see a feud between Cody and Jacob for a brief moment. I feel like it was worth it around the Royal Rumble, but afterwards, maybe led up to Elimination Chamber. I don't know. What do you guys think? If it was if it was a strategy that just to get Cody, up in the spotlight time and time again, while we're going through PLEs, was it valued? And I say it also worked. It got me intrigued to see what was going to happen next and at to what expense or what level the WWE was going to push Drew McIntyre to continue to sabotage Cody Rhodes. I was hanging on to that story. What I ultimately see is that this can be driven in different directions beyond WrestleMania. We know Drew and Cody and Randy and Jacob, they're not done yet. But, this is the decision that the WWE is going down. Whether we like it or not, we have to sit on it for the long run. Either they're going to weep the award that comes with it, or they will also have to face, the underlying understanding that, hey, if it utterly fails, it utterly fails. There are people that disagree with what the WWE is doing, how they're doing it, the storylines they take place into it. This is probably a speculation. I know someone speculated that this is the reason why Triple H did not host. He usually, after PLEs, holds his press conference. He'll either come up. I mean, he was doing it in front of a media, right? And then he was coming out to the post-show booth. But then last on, I don't know if there's too much to be read into it, but at Elimination Chamber, he had it behind at Gorilla. I mean, but here's the stage is set. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton right now, WWE Championship. Something I'd see. And then I'm sure they'll have something for Drew McIntyre. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. The other thing I took away briefly on SmackDown, because I'm going to get rolling along here in these conversations, is The Miz has been assigned to mentor Danhausen. We saw last week on Monday how he cursed Dominic Mysterio and he lost his Intercontinental Championship. Well, Danhausen appeared on SmackDown giving demands to Nick Aldis, and one of the demands was he wanted a new he wanted what do you want? He wanted a mentor. And Nick was reluctant to get away. He wanted to get away as fast as he can, right? But he ended up pushing the Miz on him. And Danhausen said, "Look, let's listen. You don't have to do it. You're right, but remember what happened. I will curse you if you don't." So, we will see how that unfolds. I like it. It's kind of unique in other senses. So, I mean, but I don't know. Danhausen, he's a fun character. I like Danhausen. He doesn't have. You see, he sells, and he's not in the ring. He's not competing. It's what he's able to do behind the scenes, out of the ring. Not many people have that. And and I think they will hit a home run as long as they continue to allow that to happen. Let's not change much. But I thought that was a fun segment to take away from SmackDown back on Friday. On Raw tonight, we take a little sneak preview into what we're looking into. It's going to be held in Seattle, Washington tonight. We have the IC Intercontinental Championship match on the line after Penta successfully won it for the first time last week. He will go on to defend it tonight against the original El Grande Americano. We will also see a gauntlet match for the number one contenders for the Women's Intercontinental Championship as Io Sky takes on Asuka, taking on Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, Ivy Nile, and Raquel Rodriguez. And then we will also see Oba Femi take on Rusev. Now, I'm not going to believe that AJ Lee is ready to move on. This is that pit stop, right? Because you're going to have next week, the IC title will be on the line. This is not your WrestleMania match. I still believe that Becky Lynch and AJ Lee is going to be a WrestleMania match. Almost has to be. Almost certain it is. So, I just feel like this is that pit stop. And it kind of gives AJ Lee another time in the ring, kind of let her briefly live out this championship run that she wants. So that's what this number one contenders match, I believe, is. Dominic and Finn Balor. I want to see how everything unfolds after watching what happened last weekend. JD McDonough was attempting to help Dominic Mysterio to win his match. Finn Balor stops and says, JD, look, stop. He says he wants to do this on his own. Let him do this on his own. You guys, you guys weren't there when I was doing this. Why are we here when he's doing this? And it cost Drew McIntyre. And this is that feud that I think we're ready to see. And that build-up is great towards it. And then I feel like Oba Femi is another, great match. He's been dominant, so I can't wait to see him on Raw. Other things to kind of pay attention to heading into Raw tonight, right? Roman Reigns and CM Punk are going to continue to exchange words leading into WrestleMania. To me, I honestly feel you got to find a way to elevate it. You could talk and yap her all you want. You got another month left to do so. Where's the brawl? Who's going to break first? And where's that brawl going to happen? I am desirably in need to see that brawl. The other thing is, to be honest, is Seth Rollins in the Vision. Last week we saw Seth Rollins curb stomp Paul Heyman. Who? Is it going to be Austin Theory? Is it going to be Logan Paul? And I was seeing something on getting ready for this show today about the WWE forcing Logan Paul to cancel. I guess he was getting into some verbal confrontations with a NFL player, wants to challenge him for a boxing match. WWE is putting on the brakes. He's like, whoa, 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 you guys. Logan, you're a WWE superstar. I think it's great for publicity if you do have a boxing match, but it's WrestleMania season. You're currently in an active feud role right now. This is not the right time. This is not the right place. You are too valuable. So don't do anything stupid. Take back your challenge. And it was only $4 million, right? So, um, but yeah, things like that is what we're looking into for tonight on Raw. But at this time, before we move ahead, I want to give a big shout out and thanks to Riverside FM. Riverside FM is our streaming platform, allows us to go live on our Facebook page, YouTube page. Hi, everyone. Allows us to put up a branding. As you see the TNC Sports Talk on the top right hand side of your screen, you also see the category text that you can see displayed on there as far as today's show, and then these little things like we're live or what's the do, and the checklist, like, share, and subscribe, like you see right now. That's all thanks to Riverside Studios. You can have multiple guests on a show. You can record, go live. You could also um, put you could I don't know how we let me do. We got mic, camera, we got a speaker, we got reactions. We could, it could be good for meetings and whatnot. You could put up a script, a teleprompter to kind of help you out. Share your screen through their subscriptions options. We have music options, branding options, and you could chat with your cat. With the public in public chats. You could have audio recordings everywhere. Riverside FM does more than just allow you to have a studio at your expense online. It um, also allows you to they provide an editing in post production. After the show, they'll break up all the audio. They'll give you magic clips, some magic videos about 3-4 minutes long about great conversations that you should post or at least fine tune and then post them. And then on top of that, you're also getting shorts, minute clips about topics, and they give you all that information. And it's designed to, hey, here's what I think is interesting you should use. You go back in there, you fine tune some things, extend it, shorten it, whatever, add some pictures to it, and they give you formats that you could use. And then you could post it as shorts. That's today's really big thing is shorts, right? So, and then on top of that, you can, have every audio divided up. So if you had a guest on your show, you had your audio, their audio. You could, play with it, and there's just so many options that Riverside FM. And I want to be sure to clarify this that I'm not sponsored. This is not a PR reading for them, but we are subscribed to them, and it's kind of just a due diligence to use as as we sit here getting ready for our next half of our program. So if you guys are looking for your own podcast, or talk show, your next business meeting, and you're looking to have some tools to use, check out riversidefm.com. Riversidefm.com has all your needs, has a free trial. Go check them out today. Let me know what you think too. And like I said, for me, it provides a lot, helps me out a lot. So thank you, Riverside, for everything that you offer here on this product. Alrighty, let's get down into some Bengals conversation. Free agency is here, and how do I want to put this? Because so free agency is here. Do I have anything on it? Nope, not on my computer. So I say free agency is here, and I say that because we are the Bengals need some help, right? The Bengals need help, and they've added another addition to what they needed help on. They need to add a veteran linebacker. They need to add a safety opposing to Jordan Battle. They also need to add a pass rusher after losing Trey Hendrickson. And they'd also like to probably add an interior defensive lineman. And then last but not least, they need to add a cornerback to replace Cam Taylor-Britt. Defensively, they have their work cut out for them. And according to ESPN, from Jeremy Fowler, he predicts that Cincinnati will have the most aggressive free agency this offseason. And I chuckle at that. Let's be real for a second. I'm chuckling at that because when it comes down to the Bengals or the Reds, we can talk highly about everything that we need, but we lack to see the execution. And it's very rare that we see something great come across our table. And I mean great. And I say that like, it comes in proven. Reds earlier this offseason missed up on an opportunity with Kyle Schwarber. And honestly, the Bengals missed up on an opportunity with Max Crosby, who was announced over the weekend that he was signing, or it was a trade, with the Baltimore Ravens. And look at that. This is the first time that the Ravens have traded a first-round pick. Not only once, but for 2 back-to-back years. They traded their first-round pick for 2026 and the 2027 season for this veteran player. First time in franchise history they've done that. And, rightfully so, right? Baltimore had 30 sacks last season. They're under new head coach Jesse Minter, right? No more John Harbaugh. They're tied. They were tied last year with Arizona and Carolina for the third fewest sacks of the year. They're only ranked 29% in pass rushes, ranked fifth worst. All right, fifth worst. So they needed to go out there and get a linebacker, a pass rusher, somebody that's talented. And, like I said, thinking too far into it, right? Because Jamar Chase and T. Higgins talked about it in an interview weeks ago, during the Pro Bowl weekend. And so there was a possibility because even the Bengals players were throwing out ideas of who they would have liked to see. But it wasn't too good to be true to ever even relate to Max Crosby with the Bengals. I heard social media, ESPN, Sports Center, some other, more pronoun and professional sports talk shows even throw out the idea that Max Crosby could be a good fit for the Bengals. But it was too good to be true because he's over there with Baltimore. And Baltimore, I think it's a great. It's hard for Baltimore to find good pass rushers. Their best pass rusher came from Odafe Away, was back in 2021. Back in 2024, Crosby played every snap for 6 consecutive seasons or games. That was 387 snaps in a row. He's going to be 29 this year, I say in his prime. He wants to play. A lot of these players, a lot of these pass rushers usually play, they sit out the first, they save their legs, they save their stamina for later in the game when they need it. Well, here you have a guy who wants to be out there from the opening snap to the end of the ball game. The Ravens have only recorded 10 sacks, in 2024. The that was Odafe away. The longest streak for a defensive lineman since 2016, according to the Next Gen Stats. 6 consecutive games, Max Crosby. And to be honest, if you look at that stat alone, I'm saying anyone, even if you think you already have a player in mind, why not? Why not you at least shoot an offer? So I guess I'm asking myself, did the Bengals actually were the Bengals actually interested? Were the Bengals what are the Bengals' plans for the offseason? If we have people telling us that the Bengals are going to be aggressive, where? I don't see it. They re-signed their offensive line. Okay, big deal. They re-signed. They didn't. I mean, they also let go Jake Browning. Now they're still interested in bringing him, but they let him go. He's a free agent, and now we don't have a backup quarterback. Joe Flacco is seeking a starting position out there, and I mean our offense is pretty set, other than a backup quarterback. But we clearly know where we need work done, and I want to see the Bengals jump on it and get some things done. I'm like, I'm gonna take a scene from The Big Bang Theory with Sheldon. See my jaw, make it drop. That's what I'm saying to the Bengals. Impress me, make me surprised. If you're all invested, do something courageous. Take a little risk. And do something that may jeopardize your job, because you got nothing else to lose, to be honest. And to be honest, up there in the front office, everyone seems to be safe. Do something that you wouldn't typically do. At least not from what I've seen over the years. So a little bit disappointing weekend when it came down to NFL news. Just another player that was probably on the radar that now we have bypassed. And let's add a little salt to the room. Now there's not one, not two, but 6 games throughout this year that Joe Burrow, if he's healthy, he's going to have to go up against TJ Watt with the Steelers, with Myles Garrett with the Browns, and now he's going to have to go up against Max Crosby. Not once, but twice as the Ravens. That's 6 games that our offensive line are going to have to pay attention to, are going to have to step up. Yeah, we re-signed Dalton Winsler. I'm pleased about that, but our work is cut out for them. And especially when you have a guy like Matt Crosby, where you know where he stands as far as playing, he'd rather be out there on the field than on a sideline. So, just a little bit of football talk there for you, as we start heading into the draft and the NFL combines, freaking going through. So, a little bit of that. Alrighty. So I do want to talk, like I said, heading into this year, we have a couple of teams. I want to kind of give you my predictions, kind of want to give you my analysis for every team. We start off in the East as we look at the Baltimore Ravens, American League East. That's the team from the American League that we're taking off today. As a matter of fact, they're about to go live. They're actually about to start. They actually already started, no, right? No, they're about to start. Where are we at? Right. They are just started a game against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Orioles, so far, today on March 9th, they are 7-7 in spring training. And listen, I feel like the American League East is a tough division. Okay. I think that Toronto Blue Jays has really suppressed. The Yankees are up there despite Juan Carlos Stanton's concerning injuries. The Red Sox look to be a returning team as well. And so, where does the Baltimore Orioles fit into place? Well, I'm going to be honest. I mean, they've added I think, some key additions to their lineup. And let me just kind of go through here. I'm checking everything out through MLB.com. They, they have Bassett. They have Shane Baez, Zach Eflin, Dean Kremer, uh, Trevor Rogers. A good rotation, I think. Ryan Hesley is going to be the closer. Felix Bautista is on the 60-day IL as of right now. Just any other names that kind of pop out. You have the returning of Aldi Rutschman, Pete Alonso, a great addition to this lineup as a first baseman. He could also do a lot of DHing. You got Jordan Westbrook, who looks to improve. Blaze Alexander as well is another one I like to see pop out. He'll probably be a good utility guy. Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, who I don't know, is he back already? But Tyler Ward picked up from the Angels. Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill. You got Samuel Basallo as your DH as of right now. This is a good front team. And I think that, I was actually surprised with how poorly they played last year. And so I'm expecting them to kind of step up their game a little bit and really take action and be able to pull something through. Now, it's going to be a competitive division. No questions asked. Toronto's looking to get back to the World Series. Boston and New York are looking to gripe their way through. And Baltimore begins their season at home. They take on the Minnesota Twins on the 26th, first game for them of the year. It's a 3:05 Eastern Standard Time first start. And then they have off Friday, and they'll wrap up a 3-game series on Saturday and Sunday. And then they host the Texas Rangers before heading out to Pittsburgh and then heading out to Chicago. When I look at East Coast to West Coast, I always look at travel. And in the month of April, I don't see too much of that. I don't really see. I mean, every test is a true test to be against them, but I really don't see it coming up until the 24th, where they take on the Boston Red Sox, and then they take on the Houston Astros before going to New York and taking on the Yankees. So the end of April could be a tough stretch, I think, for Baltimore. Then they have, I think, a nice homestand at the end of May where they host the Tigers, they host the Rays, they host the Blue Jays all in a row. And then that's to end up May. Then I think where I feel like they will struggle at is heading out to the West Coast. They go out to Seattle in June for 3 games against the Mariners. Then they go to Dodger Stadium for 3 games. And then they go to Angel Stadium for 3 games. That's going to be a fun road trip. That's all after. And here's that schedule in June. You begin in June, 3 games against the Red Sox, Blue Jays, Mariners at home against 4, and then the Padres before you go on that road trip. So you don't start lightening up until you get to the back end of that month against the Nationals and possibly White Sox. They'll go to Cincinnati this year over 4th of July weekend. And they'll wrap heading into the All-Star break against the Kansas City Royals. They'll kick off on the road against Houston and Boston before coming home for the Braves. They'll go right back on the road for a 3-game series. August, I think, looks a little bit lighter. The only really big team out there right now is possibly the Yankees, maybe the Rangers. And then they got, I think, a solid front in September. before looking into it, I'm going to look into every year. I get, the magazines, always look into them. Try not to go off of the magazines and what they predict. So before I open it up, Baltimore Ravens, I predict, are going to finish off in fourth place. They're going to finish off, I'm hoping, at about a 72-73 win season. And I'd like to actually see where I'd be compared at here in for the projection to finish. So in the East, 2026, the Baltimore Orioles will unwillingly to roll the dice and hope the young hitters down years were isolated events. The Orioles added right-handed power to the lineup and pitching. So, they got the Mariners winning. They got the Orioles going to as an AL wildcard team, and that's as far as they go, or they predict them to go. Lindsay Sports is predicting them to finish in second place this year. Last year, they finished off with a 75-87 win. Missed the playoffs last year. I think they won the playoffs. They haven't been to the playoffs in a while, but they were only 3 games back. I think they went to the playoffs in 2023, but they missed the playoffs the last 2 seasons, so they're expecting them to return. So what do you guys think? Where do you guys think that the Baltimore Orioles will place at? All right, let's take a look at the Atlanta Braves. And the Braves was actually another team where I felt that they should have done a lot better than where they honestly stand at. They also just started their spring training game against the Minnesota Twins today. They're 10-3 entering this game, and they have Carrasco on the mound. The Braves, right? Like I said last year, I don't know what happened. Like I said, injuries, getting older. This is that same team that really kind of stuck through. So you got Spencer Strider, Chris Sale available, Bryce Elder, Spencer Swallenback is on the 60-day IL, which is going to probably hurt the team. Ronaldo Lopez and Grant Holmes. Raciel Iglesias is their closer. You got Robert Suarez, a part of that deal, as well as Aaron Bummer down here. You got Matt Olson at first, Ozzy Alsby at second, Austin Riley at third, Mauricio Dubon at short. In left field, you got Mike Yastrzemski, Michael Harris II at center, and Ronald Acuna Jr. at right field. The DH projected is Johan Hilm. And any guys coming off the bench, Jorge Mateo, you got Ha-Sung Kim, and that's pretty much it. Looks like it's still a decent squad, in my opinion. Look at the schedules here really fast. They kick off the new year. They'll actually be off the Friday. They'll kick off things at home against Kansas City on Friday, March 27th. 3-game series, home to the Royals, then home to the Athletics. And then they head out strictly out to the West Coast because they have a 4-game series against the Diamondbacks and a 3-game series against the Angels. That's their first West Coast trip. And then they would have a second one to kick off the month of May as they are out in Colorado, Seattle, and then the Dodgers before coming home to the Cubs and Red Sox. That'd probably be a challenging week for the Braves. Very fulfilling in the month of May. Roll down, they got the Giants and Milwaukee in the middle of June, going out to San Diego and San Francisco. At the end of June, they wrap up their the first half of the season on the road against the Cardinals. They open up against the Texas Rangers on a 3-game series, and then the Padres on a 4-game series. And then they're in Baltimore this year. Then they have the Yankees and Mets back-to-back as well. And that's kind of maybe it. Chicago's at the end of the month. You got the Reds at the end of the month. Miami, they finish off the season against the Marlins. I think that they should have a better year than they did last year. I will project that they finish off in second place. No, I'm projecting they're going to finish off in third place in the NL East. Let's see what Lindsay Sports has to say. They said that the Braves, they can't get that unlucky twice in a row, right? Despite a huge number of injuries and underperformances last year, a championship caliber talent remains. They do. They do have them winning the division. They do have them they don't have them going to the World Series, but let's see where they have them projected. They actually have them to projecting winning the division, finishing first, and going back to the playoffs. I don't know. The Mets made some interesting arguments, right? And I would argue that the Cincinnati, or that the Phillies are also up there. I mean, they really haven't really traded away anybody. But what do you guys think? Who do you guys think is going to finish off? What do you guys think, the Braves or the Baltimore Orioles will finish off next this season? All right, coming up tomorrow, I will let you guys know that we will be talking about the Boston Red Sox and the Miami Marlins. So stay tuned for that. Let's dive into the sports world in Cincinnati. Ben's basketball team wrapped up their season back on Saturday. They took on in Fort Worth, Texas. They took on who do they take on? Who do they take on? They took on TCU, right? Yeah. They did go on and let's see what with a loss, Cincinnati drops to 17-14 on the year. That concludes a Big 12 play with a 9-9 record, while TCU improves to 21-10, 11-7 in the conference play. The game was a ninth in all the time series with between these two teams. Cincinnati holding the lead 7-2. The Bearcats received the number 9 seed in this week's Big 12 tournament and will take on number 16 seed Utah at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. Something to watch out for. Cincinnati held a 37-30 advantage on the board and a 13-8 lead in the second chance points. So that's the Bearcats head coach. Wes Miller ends up advancing his career record to 284 to 208 and 99 to 73 with the organization. Looking for his 100th win here. They could do that on Tuesday. Big 12 conference underway. All righty. A Bearcats baseball fun weekend win. They ended up sweeping 4 games against UC San Diego. They beat the UC Trojans or the UC San Diego 16-1 on Friday, 13-3 on Saturday, and 9-8 on Sunday. They will remain at the UC Baseball Stadium tomorrow afternoon against Evansville. First pitch at 3 p.m. All right, what's going on with the World Baseball Classic how do we finish this off? Korea advances, beating Australia 7-3. Current games starting up, already inactive right now. Dominican Republic is taking on Israel. They're in the top of the 4th inning. Colombia taking on Panama, scoreless in the 4th inning. Dominican Republic leads at 5-0. And then Brazil and Great Britain's about to begin here later on. Warming up at 1. At 7 p.m. tonight, we will see Cuba take on Puerto Rico on FS1. On FS2 at 7 p.m., Venezuela taking on Nicaragua. And at 8 p.m. On Fox, you can see Mexico take on USA in the World Baseball Classic. We'll touch a little bit more about that tomorrow. Let's take a look at what happened over the weekend with the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds came into spring training action on Friday. They ended up dropping the game against the San Francisco Giants on the road 6-3. On Saturday, the Reds ended up losing to the Kansas City Royals 6-2. And on Sunday, they had a split squad for the Reds. They were out in Peoria to take on the Padres and then home to the Diamondbacks. They beat the Diamondbacks at home 13-4, but lost to the Padres 14-3. So vice versa in all of that. Today, the Cincinnati Reds are back at it again. They are daylight savings. We'll have to start at 4 p.m. against the Athletics. The Athletics enter in with a 6-10 record, while the Reds enter in with a 7-7 record. They'll be held at the Goodyear Ballpark in Goodyear, Arizona. The Athletics will have, let me see here, right-handed pitcher Jack Perkins on the mound. He's 1-1 this spring with a 6.75 ERA. While right-handed pitcher Rhett Lauder will be on the mound for the Redlegs. The starting lineup is as called for the Cincinnati Reds. All lineup pitching matchups are subject to change. Check out MLB.com for all your latest updates and news. Leading things off at shortstop is Matt McClain. JJ Bleday will be batting second as the designated hitter. In left field, batting third is Spencer Steer. Batting fourth at first base is Noelvi Marte. Tyler Stevenson will be doing the catching behind the plate. He'll be batting fifth. Batting sixth is Will Benson. He'll be out in center field. Noelvi Marte will be playing right field, batting seventh. T. Brian Hayes at third base, batting eighth. And Garrett Hampson will be batting ninth. And he'll be at second base. The Reds have sent down some extra players down here as we're finally getting our way to the 40-man roster. 26 men will start the season off on the opening day roster with they sent down Christian Encarnacion Strand and Chase Petty among those guys. They sent them option down to minor league contracts down in AAA Louisville. And also, because of Hunter Green's injury, and we're pending an MRI for his right elbow stiffness, it has been announced that Andrew Abbott, the left-handed pitcher, will be getting the nod for opening day start. Congratulations to Andrew Abbott. I think that's a very big leap. Like I said, whatever happens to Hunter Green, I think it's a blessing in disguise, right? I think you're getting an opportunity for a younger guy like a Rhett Lauder, a Brandon Williamson, or even a Chase Burns to be able to come out and honestly have yourself at least start the season off. Whatever, I hope it's not a Tommy John surgery requirement, and that would give me a breather. I don't mind seeing Hunter Green out on the IL for, the first few months. He's one of those pitchers who we really do need in the dog days in August and September, especially if we are contending. So maybe it's that design of, all right, Hunter Green, let's take some time. We know you want to be out there. We want you out there. But let's utilize what we have now, get better, and come out. Hopefully we don't need Tommy John surgery out of all of it. But it's still a blow. But Andrew Abbott, definitely worth it. Even if Hunter Green was able to pitch, I'd say Andrew Abbott should be getting the nod anyways. I think it's that, that time, hey, we believe in you, kids. Step up. Let's go ahead and shine. So that is the sports world for you today. I hope everyone's doing well with the daylight savings. I got to tell you, this morning before we wrap up our show, we almost slept in and woke up until almost 7:45, even with the alarm set. I don't get that. But man, still adjusting, not too bad. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to us on our YouTube or Facebook page. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Please be sure to hit that follow notification button so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. But in the meantime, please be sure to follow us on our Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram pages. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. And you can check out this podcast on our audio platforms, wherever you get your audio needs. Take us on the road, at the gym, at the office. Wherever you go, you can listen to us at the TNC Sports Talk. You can check us out on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. But we'll be back again tomorrow at noon. We'll talk about Raw. We'll talk about the Reds. Get you guys ready for the Big 12 tournament. Much more. But until then, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow. So long.